Welcome to MVP Sports, everyone. My name is Soapy Muffins, and we are happy to have you around for today. I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
Dave, how's your day going? You enjoying it today?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a long day, but you know what? I'm happy to talk sports. I'm happy to talk about something that doesn't actually affect my real life. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to be able to, step away from real life, kind of, just look at something you really like.
It's the entertainment, and I guess some people who bet on it, I guess it could affect theirs, but for me, I'm out. I don't know how. I'm curious to know Ricky's gambling streaks. He was hot for a while. I'm curious to know during the draft how it ended.
A good chunk of it was some of them hits, some of them big old misses, but that's just the life of a gambler.
Yep.
You win some, you lose some. But we have a wonderful draft video for you guys today. But first, before we get into that, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. If you want to join one of the best communities on the internet, you can by going to Twitch chat and typing !Discord in. There you'll get a link, or under the YouTube video there will be a link as well. There in the Discord you can talk about movies, TV shows, basketball, NFL. Since the draft happened a couple days ago, there's still conversations about people that were drafted, people who are still getting signed. So it's a wonderful place to be right now. Want to support us at a monetary value, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/MVPvids. There you can choose from one of our 4 tiers to support us from, all the way from bronze all the way up to platinum. Where, for instance, if you are a platinum supporter, you are essentially a sponsor for the video, which we'd like to thank our Patreon sponsor, Pat Hill.
Thank you, Pat.
Want to watch us live? Go to twitch.tv/MVPvids. There you can see us live when we're recording the shows, like we are right now for this recording. But when it goes up on YouTube, obviously, we're not going to probably be live by then. So, if you want to catch us live, normally we stream from about 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central to that's when we're supposed to start. And then to just essentially whenever we finish, because we record 2 shows back to back. So, if you want to join in on that fun, watch us there. Aren't able to watch the actual show live, well, you can go to youtube.com/MVP Sports. There you can catch up on Wet Boys. You can catch up on any past live stream that we've had. Oh, it's always a wonderful time. But Dave, today we're talking about the Pelicans, the Birds, and and obviously for people who may not have seen our other videos, if you're new to this, basically the way we split this up is we have 3 different segments we do. The first segment is if they have the number 1 pick. Second segment, if they have a pick 2 through 4. And then the third part is just if they have wherever they're projected to go currently. Hey, with the number 1 pick, let's not waste too much time on it. You want to slap the wall?
You go ahead and slap a wall.
It's Cade.
I made you didn't even slap. I didn't even hear that one. You really just fucking get into it right there.
See, the only problem is I have a dog. And yeah, so I gotta be careful when I slap.
Fair enough. Don't want to rile up too much tension.
Yeah, unless you want to listen to my dog bark the whole time.
Please no. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so, and just for anyone who knows, the only reason we don't throw out other names, this is essentially the Cade Cunningham and everyone else show for this draft, so...
As Pelican fans know, they were the guys who created, the Zion-only draft. That's all that class was about. They got Zion. Clearly, Zion's a dominant force, and they would love to add someone like Cade Cunningham to that team being the top of this draft, if the odds are in their favor.
Yeah. So let's move into 2 through 4. This is where I actually think this is where it's most interesting for them. Obviously, where they're actually projected to go is also interesting as well. But with the 2 through 4, this is actually kind of where I think 2 of these 3 players really fit what this team would need.
Yes.
And technically, all 3 is if they lose one of their players in free agency, which is a very real possibility. Let's say they land at, let's be optimistic and say they get number 2.
Sure.
And obviously, I think it's starting to pick up steam, if I remember correctly, that people are petitioning for free agency to happen before the draft, if I remember correctly. I saw something that's gaining traction.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who prefer it to match the NFL, so teams will know what they need going into it, kind of a situation, rather than have it after the fact. So it's okay, if they don't nail it in the draft, they have to address it in free agency. This way, they'll kind of have the before and after windows. So I agree with it in theory. Yeah, why not? But I don't think it's going to happen this year.
Yeah, so just for that case, we'll stick to the regular format of the draft happening before the free agency. Mm-hmm. If they're at the number 2 pick, if I could speak English, do we see a potential that they could be a team who takes Suggs because they're not Suggs? I don't.
They could.
Give me a second. My brain has just decided to turn off those. All right, cool. It is Suggs. I don't know why my brain just decided to turn off.
Yeah.
But could they be a team to take Suggs at 2 if they aren't confident at all they can keep Lonzo?
Yeah, I mean it's a unique situation here where this draft you just mentioned, it's a Cade Cunningham draft at the top, but then 2, 3, 4, and even 5 in some situations, less so now, but is all very close. And a lot of people think it comes down to personal, whatever you feel is best. I don't think there's a very clear line because of the lack of tape on these guys. Honestly, one of the biggest things is the split level of competition. Obviously, Jalen Suggs got to play in the NCAA tournament, got to look amazing under the bright lights, hit a game-winning shot en route to a amazing team for Gonzaga. Not the champs, though. Not the champs. Just keep that in mind. Got shut down. Baylor's amazing. But Suggs is still the top point guard, two-way, mini Drew Holiday-esque prospect in the draft. But on the other side, you can look at someone, like JG4 going up against G League Ignite, or on the G League Ignite going up against grown-ass men, and just being able to get a shot from anywhere on the floor. So, the level of competition differs. Tape is obviously going to differ a lot there as well. And then you throw in a Mobley, someone who is incredibly gifted athletically, size-wise. We're talking about a rim protector who has fluid movement, great wingspan, good touch, face-up game. It's all kind of coming together. And between these 3 prospects, really, it feels like you can't go wrong at this point in time. But I think this Pelicans team has to make the decision of what is the best lineup around Zion. Because if you think that you want a floor spacing big who has great rim protection next to him, then you have to take someone like Mobley here. Now, I truly believe that. You can get point guards from multiple places. You don't have to attack it in the draft. And I know that might sound blasphemous coming from a Chicago Bulls fan who needs a point guard, who my team is completely hindered and will never win without a point guard. But free agency exists. They have someone who is a restricted free agent. Literally, it is a checkbook away from locking that in, and Lonzo Ball is absolutely incredible, in my opinion. So I think that their preference in order should be Mobley with the second available pick. And then if you get down to 3, then I would go Suggs, then JG4. And this is anti everything I've said as far as my personal big board. I think JG4 should be very near the top, if not the top. So you're like, why, Dave? Why now? Because this team is about Zion Williamson, and this team is all about maximizing what Zion can do to help you win games. Their problem right now is not the fact that they don't have another shot creator on the floor. The problem is they don't play fucking defense. This team is not set up to play defense. They don't have a rotation on the floor who just a 5-man rotation that can stop other teams. So the idea of someone like Mobley, that 7-footer mobile rim protector, who's not a liability on the defensive end, who can stretch the floor to give Zion that paint to work with, it almost seems like a match made in heaven for them.
Oh, yeah. And that's just something that, the main reason I was saying with Suggs is because, we kind of have seen that leadership quality from him.
Yeah, that's true.
Where, some people may believe that this Pelicans team doesn't really have a leader on it. Obviously, I'm not going to directly make this comparison with Suggs because I think they are very vastly different players. Of how Chris Paul completely changed an organization overnight. Went from the Suns were the 12th seed or something like that. They stunk. They weren't that good. And Chris Paul shows up. He's like, all right, this is my team. Get the fuck out of the way. We're going.
Yeah.
And then they went from the 12th seed to the 1 seed, overnight.
I don't know if they're 12 per se, because they did go on the heater run in the Mickey Mouse bubble down there.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. They were
they just missed out on the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think
I'm getting it mixed up from 2 years ago.
Might have been 11 though. I think. But yeah, either way.
I think it was they only missed out because it was they needed either the Grizzlies or the Trailblazers to lose a game, which they didn't.
Yeah. So I mean, Chris Paul's leadership on that team. I mean, but you're right. The jump is incredible, and they are now the number 1 seed in the NBA. Or I'm sorry, in the West. Just an incredible run by Chris Paul, and we have seen it before with what he did with the Thunder. And I think that now back-to-back teams, him taking his leadership, his experience, and working with these young kids, Now, that is something that you're never going to get out of a rookie, but at the same time, you're going to have a rookie who has, that big shot mentality, clearly. Team player, unselfish, wants to make everyone better. And he's all effort, two-way player. He's not someone who will slack on defense, which I think you need someone to help set that tone there. So I think Suggs, it's a very attractive prospect to help out there down in New Orleans.
Yeah, I think it's just the main reason of why I'm hesitant on selecting Suggs for them is the fact of, like, he kind of gives off, like, that. Essentially, it feels like they would only take him if they're 100% not confident they can keep Lonzo. Like, and I know, obviously, he's a very, like, divisive player. Some people like him, some people don't.
Yeah.
But, like, you can't deny it. His three-point shots finally come around. Like, obviously, the last couple of years, it's been getting better. And this year, he's lights out at times. Yeah. Obviously, he's streaky. Once again, that's just shooters. Shooters shoot. Sometimes it doesn't go in.
Mm-hmm.
But with the situation of, like, Lonzo and, like, kind of comparing, like, Lonzo and Suggs, it feels like they're kind of like a similar player to each other. Of where they both kind of, they're both two-way players. They're both really good playmakers. Obviously, Lonzo may be a little bit better of a playmaker than Suggs. They're both very unselfish players. I think it's just, if you believe that the main thing this team needs, and this is just, like, speaking as the Pelicans, if you believe Lonzo's not the answer to make this team a contender, someone like a Suggs could potentially grow into that player. Yeah, I think that's the only reason you take someone like Suggs over a Mobley, because I do think Mobley's the best prospect for them outside of Cade Cunningham, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, the problem, Cade doesn't even fit. Like, it's just Cade. It doesn't matter that if they get one and they get Cade, then it turns into the whole conversation about Brennan Ingram needs to be moved out of town and what's the best guy you could get to fit alongside this new core of Zion and Cade, which that is its own spiral that I don't want to delve into today. I will leave that up to the dice gods, the frozen envelope conversation, all of that, like, because that is true. And that's something that's throughout the season on and off happened as far as Brandon Ingram not being a fit next to Zion Williamson, and a lot of fans calling for him to be moved for a better fitting star. So, like, I think that as far as perfect fits go, Mobley, Suggs are both right there for them. I think both of them would thrive on this roster day one. But you brought up Suggs and, his similarities to Lonzo as far as, being that two-way guard. The thing that I love about Suggs is he's not afraid of contact. He will attack the basket. It's something that Zion has struggled with early in his career. His free throw percentage is awful. Yeah, Lonzo, my bad. They're all...
Yeah. Just wanted to make it so, like, people didn't think you were talking about Zion with it.
Yeah, no, I'm talking Lonzo. I'm talking point guards. It's Lonzo's lack of attack at the rim, and that's always going to hold him back because he's a poor free throw shooter. And yes, he's made strides, but at the same time, like, I really, truly believe that Suggs is a 3-level scorer. He's someone who will always make the extra pass. So even with him, even if he doesn't take the shot at the rim, he can kick out and people will have to defend him legitimately as he attacks the paint. And that's the thing. Zion going at the paint, like, people just kind of scoff at him, like, I could foul him, send the line, and there's 50-50 chance he misses. So, like, worth our chance there. No one's going to bite at him, attacking the rim and not, leave their guy on the outside. So with Suggs doing that, he can kind of create that vacuum of on the defensive side and draw attention and be able to kick to an open slashing Zion from the other side, or wide open three-point shooter on the outside, something along those lines. Like, that is, I think, the upside of going with someone like Suggs for future movement, as well as the fact that he just has such a knack for the half-court offense. Zion, we've talked about for years, he is someone who rocks when they are in transition. He is a very quick passer. He's not someone who's going to dribble the air out of the ball. But at the same time, you'd like him to maybe run a little bit better, like run a better offense as far as him being a primary ball handler, because that's a duty that has never really been his job. He's kind of a secondary, a tertiary player out there, because obviously they've screwed him over by Bledsoe being on this team. But then Brandon Ingram sometimes is their primary facilitator. Then other times now we're seeing more Zion as the year's gone on. So, like, it almost feels like Lonzo doesn't really, he sort of fits as that off-ball guy. But if you need a true point guard, Jalen Suggs is a better true point guard going forward, I believe.
Yeah, and I think as well on top of that, And the reason I think Mobley just fits so well with this team as well,
yeah,
he's essentially just a straight upgrade over Steven Adams. Like, obviously, I love Steven Adams. I would be
everybody
the
does.
first
He's
man
a
to
great guy.
defend the Kiwi.
Yep.
But it's his, not even slower pace, because, he is, a pretty fast player. The only
If I have to hear another player or another person complain about me because I called him slow, fuck all of you. No, he is. He's 7 foot tall. He is a lumbering fucking giant out there. He's a brick shit house who I appreciate his game, but he's not able to keep up. That is not his game. That is not his style of play. And when you have Zion on the floor and you have Lonzo, if you're keeping him, you want to constantly be running. You want to use that young leg. You want to use those young legs to wear out opponents because you can attack and transition when they don't have time to set up, when they don't have time to pack the paint and double Zion as he's slashing. Having Steven Adams trailing behind, I don't care about Steven Adams trailing 3. That's not a threat to me ever. So I 100% am on the other side of this. I love him, but he's the wrong guy for this roster. He's the wrong guy to play next to Zion Williamson.
Yeah, and obviously, I don't fully disagree. I think he is not the right player for this roster. I think he'd fit really good with the bench. The only problem is then, what happens with Jackson Hayes?
A lot of money for a bench center, too.
Yeah, that's the tough part. So sorry, Steven. We love you, and we love the fact you looked like a Viking that one year. But
honestly, I'd love to see him get moved. I'd love to see him playing on a team that would fit him so much better. But we'll see. I mean, I expect this team to make multiple moves this offseason. I think if their season ends outside of the playoffs, 100% they are shaking this roster down. They have a lot of young pieces, so I'm we're talking about Steven Adams maybe not a perfect fit on this team long term. I know they did extend his contract, but they might look to move him in the next year. Same thing, Eric Bledsoe. Not a perfect fit by any means, but they might look to move him.
Yeah. And obviously, we kind of danced around JG4, mostly just because we both kind of agree he's not the best fit if you plan on going forward with BI and Zion.
Yeah.
Do you think that there may be, and obviously I'm not trying to speak into existence so Pelicans fans don't crucify me, could there be a chance that they don't think a duo of BI and Zion could win, and they think BI is the one we need to move, and they potentially take someone like a JG4?
I 100% believe that could be in the consideration. It wouldn't be my favorite route to take, but I think that JG4 plus Zion is an insane attack of offense. You have 2 extremely high percentage shooters, 2 guys who are effective from everywhere they need to be. Zion is going to shoot 91% true shooting percentage in the paint, insane numbers, shit that just doesn't even exist in the game. And JG4, 3-level scorer who is going to continue to add tools to his kit every year. He's 18, 19 years old, and it's incredible how good he plays for his age. All he's going to do is work on his handle, work on his game, and the work ethic because we've seen the interviews, we've seen the conversation, we've seen him grow up through AAU tournaments, high school, all this shit. It's hard not to love someone like him. And that's why, for me on my big board, I have him so high, but I'm saying I don't know if the Pelicans would take him because of that BI situation. He's a name that I don't know, if they're sold on him, great, they can keep him. I think he's a fantastic player. But it seems like there are a lot of talks, obviously fan talks, of BI being a movable piece for something that's a better fit. And if you did that, if you have JG4 on the board, 100% would take him because that gives you that second score. And maybe as a second score, he works a whole lot better than BI. Brandon Ingram needs the ball in his hands a lot more. His offensive game can clash with Zion at times, especially with them trying to explore what Zion moving the ball as a primary ball handler could do for you. So I think that, yes, it's possible they move on and try to grab that secondary high-level score, but that would not be my first move to make as the Pelicans.
So we kind of covered those 4. I guess a random thing. If they landed at 4, can we both just write up the fact Kuminga's not getting taken by them at all?
Yeah, I think that's the one player who I don't see going to the Pelicans. I think even if they're at 5, say they go 5, say they get the 5th spot in a 4-pick draft. What would they do here? I think they would pass on Kuminga. I honestly do. I think that they would much rather have someone like Barnes on this team. Maybe even Keon. If they fall in love with his athleticism, I could absolutely see them do that. They'll be like, hey, another athletic slasher on the wing, plays good defense. We can work on his shot now that he's out of Tennessee. I 100% could see them going that route rather than taking someone like a Jonathan Kuminga, who raw as a prospect, inefficient as a prospect, but incredible upside. I just don't know that they want to go that route when they could have someone who fits a more needed area of concern on the defensive side of the ball and has offensive upside equal to him, I would say.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to where they are projected to go. Right now, they are currently tied for the 10th pick. So either it's 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. So going from there, I guess to start this conversation off, do you think that they could be a team that takes one of the older prospects and essentially just tries to push for the playoffs as soon as possible? Or do you think they could be a team that kind of is like, okay, you know, like there's some good prospects around here, you know, that won't take too long to grow. Let's take one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is their timeline. I'm with you. I don't know which side of this they're on. You would think with all of the league watching what's happening to Dallas, you know, they were the last team that got the wonder kid in Luka Doncic, someone who is already MVP voting, incredible player, and people are going, wow, you're already wasting Luka. And it's like, dude, it's literally fucking year 3. Like, cool it. And you know, you blink and you're like, we're looking at Zion year 3 coming up. What are we doing? What's our timeline look like? What have we found our Batman and Robin pairing? Have we found how we're going to make our big 3? Like, what is this all going to look like at the end of the day? Because they have had multiple picks. I mean, you look at the roster and you go, they did take Kyra Lewis Jr. last year in the teens, I believe, who, again, he was a prospect that a lot of us really liked. I think he's an intriguing player this year in the NBA. I haven't seen anything outside of, I think, four standout performances from him, but I don't know if that's due to coaching. I don't know if that's due to lack of opportunities. He has gotten minutes, though. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, same thing. He was a great pick, late, I think mid to late first round. Really enjoyed what he could bring to the table, but he never has a consistent. He doesn't have a consistent bone in his body. He is hot or he is cold, and it is apparent very quickly on a given night. I still think it's worth it because he's got a great body frame, and like we clearly see upside in him. It's like if you look at that, like, okay, we've got a couple shots, and you mentioned Jackson Hayes, currently their backup center, someone who is athletic, was a top pick, and I would love to see them continue to grow with because he's someone who is still growing as a player. So when you take all that into account, you know, what are we looking for? What is our concern? Honestly, it has to be defense at any position. My primary call there, I would be looking between someone like a Jared Butler or a Moses Moody. I want defense and upside. Jared, obviously, smarter player. I think he has the ability to be a point guard for an NBA team. I know a lot of people are like, is he a 2? Is he a 1? Is he a combo? He could do a little bit of both, but I prefer him at the 1, I think, especially on a team with Zion. I think he'd be an incredible tool for them. I love the idea of him being a tweener, though, because I just mentioned having someone like Kyra, someone who could play alongside him, and he can kind of fit the mold because he played with Davion Mitchell, and we had seen the success they had in college. I think that he would be my ideal guy if they're at 11. The other one I mentioned, Moses Moody, I mean, reportedly a 7'1" wingspan on this kid. We talked about him having a really high basketball IQ as well. Same thing with Butler. It's like he knows where the game's at. He knows what's coming to him, and he doesn't put himself into a position where he's going to cost his team the game. His shot's not falling, great. I'm going to attack the rim, go for contact. Okay, if I'm being doubled, I'm going to create opportunities for my teammates. Like he seems to have a really good grasp on the game. So I like him. He's got great upside, and if he continues to work on his shot, you know, another two-way player, really.
Yeah, and kind of just with the way I was looking at it, I do agree, like, this team needs defense. Like, obviously, you know, B.I.'s not the worst defender in the world. The only thing is, he doesn't try half the time. He just kind of looks and he's like, I mean, I have lengthy enough arms to do something, but like, I gotta save some energy for scoring. I found the thing with this pick, I think one of the things that they probably should do. I do kind of lean on the side of going for like an older, more proven prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's getting some consistency off that bench because that's been their main problem this year. Like you have times of where Zion and Bi are both scoring 30. Like the rest of the bench, like the rest of the starters are playing really well, and it gets to the bench and it just turns into a shit show.
Yeah,
and I think they could be a team that would massively benefit, kind of taking like a safer prospect. And I was thinking someone like maybe like a Franz Wagner.
Ooh.
Like kind of taking that sort of, trust me, I want to hate the guy because he's from Michigan, but
understandable.
Like he could be that guy of like, not putting up like an insane amount of points, but that sort of like consistency piece off the bench of, obviously the Pelicans need to figure out their rotations better because when Zion or Bi aren't on the court, that offense is atrocious.
Yes.
But getting someone who could at least be like a consistent, like at least 10-point guy, and I know like obviously I may be selling Wagner very short.
Yeah.
When I say that.
I think the 10 to 14 range is about where I would see him as far as his points per game. Like he's not a guy who's going to be, your number one scorer, but he's a pure catch and shoot player. He can facilitate a little bit. He, that was new to his game this year. He was counted on more and more as the year went on in Michigan. But like, I think an ideal situation for him would be, hey, I'm an off-ball guy who I'm either catch and shoot or I can continue movement down to the post and help feed Zion or help feed whoever their center is at that point in time. Like what you're gaining him for is his versatility on the defensive end as well. So I really love the idea of going that route.
Yeah, and as well, kind of filling out other positions as well. Like obviously you brought up Alexander Walker, and the only reason like I'm really skeptical with a lot of this team is obviously Zion is so much farther ahead than like obviously don't get me wrong, we all knew Zion was going to be like special in the NBA. It was more or less just a question of like how special.
Yeah.
But like we've seen like he's incredibly special and he's moving a lot faster than some people probably may have even predicted.
Yeah.
Where now it almost becomes sort of a situation of how long do we have to develop these types of prospects? Like don't get me wrong, I do also like their young talent on this team. Like I really like Jackson Hayes. I think he's been solid this year. I think it's just the main problem is still a young guy. Like he was one of the youngest people in his draft class, and like it showed. Like he didn't have an NBA ready body. He's still rather thin.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Watching in the summer league, him absolutely destroy people was fantastic. Like I didn't really translate because essentially in the summer league he was playing against college people again.
Yeah.
And then he hit the NBA, and then it became a situation of, oh, okay, we're not like these guys are a little bit bigger, and these guys kind of know to look out for people like me. Where I think with them, that's the only reason why I kind of want them to go with an older prospect.
Yeah.
Of the more like, okay, this guy is safer. Like by this point, we have our number one in Zion by far. Don't need to worry about anything else. Right now, it's just kind of filling out the roster around him. And I think someone like a Chris Dewar, I think that's how you say his name, senior guard out of Oregon. I think he would fit that ideal like scorer off the bench as well. Consistent guy. The only real problems with him, besides his age, and even that, I don't like saying age is a big problem with people.
Yeah.
The only problem is he's 23, turning 24 this year. Mm-hmm. So, and his free throw rate isn't the best, but I mean he's really consistent. Like shot 42% from three, 53% from the field as a two guard.
Yeah, no, I mean he brings offense to that team, which would be great. My concern when you look at the bigger picture, though, I almost feel like this team maybe should take their shot in the first round because they have 4 second rounders. Now, should they trade up with those 4 seconds? Absolutely. What would the asking price be? Are they going to be able to pack it? As it stands today, it's 36, 40, 41, and 52. They own Cleveland's, Washington's, and Dallas's second-round picks this year. With 4 seconds, if you're not moving up, I'm almost like, hey, my pick number 11, wild card, I might go, completely crazy with it because I know that I can get some 3-year, 4-year college players in the second round to help mix in that age on the team. That's I almost hesitate bringing it up as a counterpoint, not a counterpoint, but another option for them to do because I'm like, do I see them taking another raw center prospect in a Kai Jones, with I can't, you know? Like when I think about raw talent, like Keon's obviously at the top of that list. But Kai Jones is right there behind him. I don't know. It's with so many picks in the second round. Like, what would your approach be? Do you think that you would try to package two of them, three of them together to move up or move out, or would you feel like you're the Boston Celtics and you need to make all four of those second round picks count?
I mean, and with them as well, I think. And see, it kind of falls into a weird position because like there is some names in the second round who are some really good prospects, and it mostly just depends as well of like it kind of feels like just after a while that players become that like, oh, we just like this guy, so we're gonna take him at this point. Like, I think that's where my trouble comes up with like I think trading up some of them, like maybe trying to trade some of like the later ones to see if you can potentially try to move into like either late first, and obviously you'd have to package people in with it.
Perhaps,
like trying to move, later picks to maybe get in the very end of the first round. You could like maybe get a chance at someone like a Cameron Thomas, like a Trey Mann.
Oh, okay.
Like, if he falls like a Josh Christopher or something, but like
yeah, I would love the idea of Josh Christopher on this team.
Yeah, but just kind of, I think at least keeping two of the second rounders could be a very good option because there's a very good chance their pick. Like let's say because right now it's projected to go like their highest one is 36.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a chance like a Trey Murphy the third's there.
That would be amazing for them,
yeah. And I think it's just right now. I think trying to move the later ones, which I think the latest one
52, the Mavs pick. Yep.
Yeah, so like maybe trying to package like 52 and 41 together to move up could be like an idea for them. But I think at least keeping one in the second round, I think would be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, you dropped a couple names there that I like. Two that I would really be interested in personally is if they could go after like a Nyshawn Highland. I think he would be someone incredibly good fit on this team. Terence Shannon Jr. is another guy who I'm like, I don't know where his top end is going to be at the NBA level, but everything about his game, he's been playing off the bench. He's been exceeding expectations. It's a role that, I don't think he's going to have a problem filling in at the next level, but I like what he brings to the table. And I wonder if like how well that should transition in my mind. I think he will, be a very high level role player for them. So like I could see like one of those two guys, and even, I have a problem here. I have to say his name, Isaiah Todd, someone who I think is just criminally underrated. A lot of people still have him going in the second round. If he's there at 36 or 40, 100% Isaiah Todd. I think this kid has so much potential. So that's the thing. Like you're in this kind of flip flop between, do I take the older players who have proven with my late picks, because usually you see those situations, the president got taken very late. We see all these upperclassmen, Fast PP got taken later. I know it wasn't second, but like later in the draft. You can get better value with those later picks if you take the known products. Obviously you can go ahead and take an overseas player. Right now, I think they have Didi, who is still playing in another league. Well, I can't remember the league name. I don't know, but like they already have one player who is not playing in the NBA. I think it's a 1-year deal though, so he might come up this year. I wonder if they would keep one of those and take like long shots on some European players, because I feel like this team's window, the more I look at it, yes, Zion is an insane athlete, but can you really have a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, like as we get there, be a contender for a championship? And it's honestly haven't seen it in a very, very long time. A player that young lead his team to top contention. Really, the last best case we've seen was Derrick Rose. I mean, being the youngest MVP, as well as having a 60-win team because his team was surrounded with amazing defense and a great defensive coach. Now, if you just squint your eyes a little bit, Zion could be like a fat Derrick Rose. They attack the basket very similarly. I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this as a Chicago person, but I'm gonna put it out there. Think about this team if they were constructed with elite defense at multiple positions. You have a coach who I naturally just don't like because he has old school philosophy. But he does preach defense. If nothing else, it's not effective right now, but he does preach it. So I wonder if they were able to go out and get defensive specialists, someone like Usman Graba, who could be falling in this year's draft if they had to trade up to a late one with, pick 36, 41. Say you could get to 22 if you give up 36, 41. I would probably pull the trigger on that one and go ahead and attack that position, get an elite defender, someone who will be able to help out right away. And like you said in the second round, if you see guys, you mentioned Troy Murphy III, Isaiah Livers is right there as well, guys who can step in, make a difference defensively. I think that's the best answer, is this team should focus in almost entirely on the defensive side, unless you're like, this guy Brandon Ingram's not our fit. We need to find a trade partner for him. I don't know what that would look like. I'm not sure value-wise. Obviously he's an incredible player. He's an all-star. He's incredibly talented with an offensive skill set that only a handful of guys in the NBA have. But, like, where's our trade partner? Who's going to want him? Who's going to build around him? So, like, it's very hard to identify what value they're going to get back. So I'm like, well, if you're looking for a scorer, looking for a guy who has, that tendencies, you're right. I mean, I think their best chance is take a high scorer with 11. You go for someone who has that incredible offensive profile. Even if it is someone like Bouknight, someone who can get just shots at will. I think that's something they have to consider. They have to make up their mind before the draft, though. 100%. They have to know our team is moving forward with Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, or not. Like, that is the ultimate decision they have to make. And even in my mind, like, I love Josh Hart. I think he's super underrated. He's grown his game incredibly. No one's talking about him, and they absolutely should be. Like, he's someone who is a fucking massive effort player, incredible rebounder for his position, and he's worked on his offensive game so much. It's like, I like a lot of these guys, but it is decision time in New Orleans, and they have to figure this shit out before the draft because, we've talked about 20 different prospects now who we think could help out this team in one or a couple different ways. And it's just like, they've got to decide where's the line, where's this team, what's our new core moving forward around Zion Williamson. Maybe they'll just be like, our core is Zion. Everybody else we don't give a fuck about. I wouldn't be opposed. You could fire sale that team out and put talent around him and compete next year. It's 100% possible.
Yeah, and obviously I did want to throw one name for the second round.
Yeah.
It kind of fits into that sort of like big who can block shots, who can be a rim protector. May not be like the strongest player in the draft, and he's able to space the floor. Do you think they may take a chance in like a Jay Huff in like the second round?
Ooh, that is a name I'd not considered for them, but
I think he his play style I think really fits with them. He's able to space the floor really well. And as well, like, he's not like the greatest defender in the world, but like, I mean, he's good enough. Like, he can grow into that sort of defender to be paired next to Zion.
Yep.
I think that's kind of something they need as well. Of like, he doesn't have to be like the primary scorer. Like, he can just kind of be the guy, like, you not plug him in a corner, but like kind of you have him kind of doing like running pick and pops with people like Lonzo, people like Bi, Zion. Like, he doesn't require like he brings attention to him because he can be a really good shooter at the next level.
Yeah,
like obviously he's a 7-1 guy who shot 38% from 3 in college.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the same mobility concerns per se as a Luka Garza.
Yeah, where it's essentially at that point it's just like I think just the main reason why he would go later is because he is older. Because if I remember correctly, I think he's 23.
Yeah, he's probably up there.
Yeah, he is. Okay, he's 22, but he's turning 23 this year.
Yeah.
So essentially, I think he could be a player that, if you're worried in a sense about Jackson Hayes never really being able to fit next to Zion, maybe take a swing at Huff in the second round.
It's a low investment, high payout kind of situation. It's a second round pick. I mean, honestly, like, that would be great if you could find your guy that late in the draft. And I think the teams are starting to catch on to just how good second round talent is in the NBA now. We're seeing more and more success stories out of it. So I think that's 100% within expectations.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anyone else, like, if they stick with all their picks,
Yeah, if they load up all their picks and they're going to say, hey, we're going to walk away from Lonzo Ball or sign and trade Lonzo Ball, kind of a situation like best case scenario is they walk out with, obviously a point guard. I think if they stick at 11, Jared Butler would probably be my pick off the top of my head. Just that would be the guy I would want to have on this roster. Great leader, good ball handler, incredible defender for his position. That makes sense. And then as you get to the 30s, like I said, I think you brought up a great 3-and-D player and Troy Murphy III. I think that if my draft looked like Butler, Troy Murphy, Isaiah Todd, maybe a Nyshawn Highland, and then Huff, what would you make of that? Like, would you give is that an A draft for the Pelicans?
Yeah, I definitely think that's up there because I think then as well that shows their intention for like what this team is. Like essentially shifting that mentality of like we are going to get people to fit around Zion. BI still can fit here, but now it's more of like not like BI's on the hot seat then, but more of like it shows we're willing to go out and make drastic changes to this team because we essentially don't want an Anthony Davis 2.0 to happen.
Yeah, and you've got a good mix. Yeah, you end up with a good mix of talent out of that group. It's not just like you're one directional with what you're trying to do. I think there's a lot of guys who can contribute right away, and then there's still some upside you can uncover. So, like I'm all about the balanced approach when it comes to it. Like this is a shotgun of draft picks here. I mean, when you have this many young players, obviously finding minutes for them means you're probably not going to be a really good team if you are trying to give all of them minutes. It's that logjam we've seen in Boston, where they have so many picks, but they only have so many minutes because they're trying to make Eastern Conference Finals and they're trying to be contenders at the same time. And that's kind of the question: is this team going to be able to do that, or should they be like, let's put the brakes on things for a second here and understand we have a young, gifted athlete who has a lot of years ahead of him because we're very confident in our trainers and his strength and conditioning. So we don't need to rush anything. We can do this rebuild right. We've got plenty of assets moving forward. Remember, this is a team that has a fuck ton of picks moving forward. So even if they took 2 of these and traded out for a future pick next year, that's probably worth it. Like this is not a team who should be rushing anything. You should not feel like I have to max Lonzo out so we can keep him. And I'm going to go ahead and, basically I'm stuck on a max with Lonzo or 20 plus million on Lonzo. Let's just put it that way. 20 plus million on Lonzo, BI's on a max. And then we're going to have to get a contract for Zion in 2 years. So like we have to add another piece now or else we're out of, position. You're still stuck with Bledsoe. You're still stuck with Steven Adams. So you got to solve that contract problem. Like, I don't think this team is ready to compete. I'll be honest. I think that's after kind of going through it all in my head like 17 times. I don't think they're ready to compete in the next year or two. I think they're over exceeding expectations because Zion is a generational player. Like talent player, he is on a different level from any expectation I've even had.
Yeah, and the only reason why like I kept saying like I think kind of fill out the roster with like more experienced, like essentially I don't want to say can't miss, but like the very safe prospects is just because the fact of I'm not going to say like the whole thing I did for the Kings because with the Kings that one can make sense. Like with this one, BI has been in the league the longest out of the 3, and like he's grown a lot, and obviously Lonzo then being the second longest tenured. It's mostly just like I said, I don't want to bring this up for this team because I think this team is obviously very different than the Kings. I think this Pelicans team, I just don't want them to have a situation of where like Lonzo and BI get so used to losing all the time that they just get like a loser's mentality. And obviously, like I said, I don't want it to just be like a Kings situation because with the Kings, I think that's a very realistic possibility.
Yeah.
With Pelicans, they have so much talent, and this team is still kind of still new to each other. Like obviously they've been together for 2 years now. Yeah,
this is basically year 2 of the same core, more or less. Obviously, the Drew trade happened, but like it's the same couple of guys and young kids who have just been tossed into it. So they're not exactly a congealed unit. I think you can still play with things. I think from a coaching standpoint, they still haven't figured out how to fucking put a rotation together, which, god damn, it's about time you get something together. I think that's the frustration is like, do you see this the same way as the Kings, where the coach is also holding the team back?
I don't think Stan Van's holding them back as much as like Luke Walton's holding the Kings back. I think it's more or less of Stan Van still has that very old mentality of like, I don't think he'd be willing to move on from someone like an Adams.
Yeah.
I think, like, his mentality is like we need like a big body center to do this. I think that's what would hold this team back the most, and the fact that for some weird reason he keeps playing Lonzo as shooting guard.
I don't have an answer.
Don't get me wrong. I don't want to trash talk him, man, dude. He built the fucking wall of Detroit. I can't hate him.
One thought I have, my last thought on this one, as far as this future team, I would love to see them look for Miles Turner in a trade. I think that if they could find a way to make a Miles Turner trade happen, that would be in their benefit. I did just watch what the Pacers did, just murdering a team on national television. That was not even a game of basketball after a while. Put up about 155. But yeah, I think Turner still feels like he's attainable. And I think Turner would be an ideal fit with Zion Williamson moving forward. I love the idea of that pairing, and I think that if it's within their reach, they have picks, they have these big contracts that they can match with. I'd love to see a deal between those two teams.
Yeah, and hell, who knows? Maybe even if we want to be absolute real shitlords,
yeah,
just send Steven Adams back to the Thunder and bring in Al Horford.
Fuck you. Everybody was saying it. You got the wrong guy.
That'd be true. But I think it's just, this draft's going to be really interesting for them. I'm interested to see, and I guess just one last prospect, Jake loves this guy. Do you think there's a chance they look at Giddey?
Yeah. Do I think I think it's your job. You have to look at all the prospects. I think Giddey's someone who's risen a lot on a lot of people's boards. Obviously, skill set wise, like, how's he fit on the floor? Well, Brandon Ingram would be gone if he fits on the floor, in my mind. That would be the, 100% sign. If Giddey falls to them at 11 and they took him, I'm like, oh, so we're trading Brandon Ingram. Cool. That's the direction we picked.
Yeah. Just thought I'd, throw that out there because, I know Jake loves Giddey.
I love him too. And I mean, I get it. Like, 6'8" ball handler, got eyes everywhere, great court vision, loves to create, can shoot from all three levels, not an elite scorer at any level, but he doesn't have, confidence issues in that department. So I just think that that first pick will say more about the future of the Pelicans than anything that we can possibly do here.
Yeah. So moving into the last thing we're going to talk about, it's kind of a little NBA news. So obviously, recently, it has been confirmed that the play-in tournament is going to be sticking around. Arguably the biggest star in basketball is not too happy about it.
Yeah, it turns out.
You got any thoughts on it?
I just, I loved it last year. He was all about it. We're bringing competition to the game. We're letting, young talent have a shot. Up and comers get their chance to play in, and like Zion could be there. We could see Devin Booker make the playoffs almost last year. Like all that little bit of fun. Ja Morant was incredible. It was the best game ever, I think, up to that point in time. It's funny how the perspective changes when he's fighting for his life now. Turns out Dennis Schroeder won't be available for the rest of the regular season due to COVID protocols. So their team sucks without Dennis Schroeder. I don't know if you've looked at the record. I think they literally just suck without him. He is 100% required for their team to win games because, and no offense to the Crew Show, he's a natural point guard out there for them. Anthony Davis is not Anthony Davis right now. He is still working his ass back, and it shows. It's disturbing when you look at the team and you see them score in the paint, and you're like, I can't even blame Drummond for that. I look at Anthony Davis, I'm like, fuck, somehow Anthony Davis is the one letting me down right now. I know what Drummond is. Don't think that I think that he's on some platform. I shit talk Drummond for a living. Like, Anthony Davis has not been Anthony Davis since he's come back. So obviously they've got a little bit of time to figure that out. But because of all of these people missing time, because of LeBron missing time, they're in a situation where we could have the dream scenario of LeBron James versus Steph Curry in a play-in tournament game. which would blow the NBA's collective minds. We were talking before the show, with Jake, saying this would be the highest rated game of the entire playoffs if we got a LeBron Steph playing game. I don't disagree. I think that would be incredible. Unfortunate for LeBron, but he's a whiner, and you just stop caring after a while.
Yeah, and obviously I've never liked the play-in tournament. I always thought it was a really not a stupid concept. I always just viewed it as it's just more of a situation of okay, obviously for the West, I think it's a good idea because the West has fucking down to team 13 could make a playoff spot. But in the East, whenever they invited the Wizards, I'm aren't the Wizards physically impossible to make it last year?
Yeah.
Why'd they get brought in?
Yeah, because we had to make it appear fair, so Zion had his chance.
Yeah, and I just view it as right now the conferences are too far apart talent wise.
Yeah.
To be oh, we need to have this because it's just at the point of okay, obviously right now in the East, it's basically a dogfight for there because I think it's the Wizards have it locked down. I think
they have been the hottest team in the East, and they're in. They're 100% in my mind. Let me check the actual NBA standings.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember if they're either tied for it or
NBA standings as
right on the verge.
They are 29 and 35. They are locked in the 10th seed. They have a 1.5 game lead on the Raptors, and they are a game back of the Pacers. So yeah.
And what do they have it that it's up to 10th seed? Or the ones who make it in?
10 and in it. 10 and 9 get into the play-in tournament. Yeah, and honestly, at least it is 29 wins with the Wizards, 30 with the Pacers, 31 with the Hornets, 34 with the Celtics. So they have a chance to get all the way up to 8. I mean, they're 8-2 in the last 10. They've been an incredibly hot team. So literally, it's them and the Knicks are just doing dirty things in the East right now. Everybody else is just kind of along for the ride. But I see what you're saying. In the West, the 11th seed is also 29-win team in the Pelicans. So, should they be a playoff team? If the East has a 29-team win in there, should they be? Unfortunate. But it is what it is. And you just have the blatant tanking at the bottom. Maybe that's the difference,
Yeah. I think it's more or less of just at the bottom of the West, it's the Thunder are just absolute shit show because they're just getting away with sitting everyone.
Yeah, I mean, they're committing crimes left and right. Everybody's out because we don't feel like it today. He's got left knee soreness or maybe back soreness. What is it? Just flip a coin today. Just make up an answer. Why is he not medically cleared?
Or even
Al Horford fucking Bermuda or some shit. He got written off halfway into the season, and somehow there's no problem with that. Rules don't apply. We're the Thunder, man. Chill.
Yeah. Or even the one thing Ricky posted in our group chat, the Al Horford special.
Yeah.
I still can't get over that was on a fucking injury report.
It is what it is. I think that's the situation in the West, and because it's so stacked, yeah, it sucks for LeBron that he's staring down the barrel. They're at 36 wins right now. Could they fall down to a hot Grizzlies team or the Blazers playing up? Maybe. I don't think it's a guarantee, but I think all their games, their schedule is literally murderer's row playoff teams. So I'm kind of excited to watch the downfall of the Lakers. You build them up so much because they're the Lakers. They're the champs. They've got LeBron. They got AD. They should win all this stuff. But watching them fail is equally fun. Perhaps even more fun if you're a cynic.
Yeah, and obviously, I don't like to see LeBron lose. He is probably my favorite player of all time, or at least one of them.
He's the GOAT.
So, yeah. See, look at that. We don't have Ricky in here vehemently defending him. We got our chance. He's the GOAT.
I think everybody who says otherwise is just got a different perspective. But, opinions are opinions.
Yeah. But just as one last kind of thought, and this kind of plays into a little bit more does LeBron just get absolutely shit on if he falls out of the playoffs?
Oh, he'll never live it down. He will never be the GOAT. That would be the guaranteed. You lost the playoff slot in a play-in game? Oh, fuck no. You know what Michael never did?
Oh my fucking god!
That's the argument. That's all need to be said. It would end the argument of GOAT, unfortunately, for half the nation.
Yeah, that is a sad truth. Maybe that's the end of the show today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, just kind of going over a brief little bit of housekeeping. join the Discord. Talk about all sorts of sports, movies, games, I've said movies twice, but you know what? You can talk about movies twice as much.
Movies are coming back. Get excited.
That is true. Theaters are opening. There's movies coming out still. There's always a chance to do that. Of course, at the monetary value at patreon.com/MVP vids. Obviously, you can join watch-alongs with us when we go in there. Like, you can join watch-alongs. Silver tier, you can vote on polls. Gold tier, you get access to videos on Patreon early. Obviously, you can be shouted out in the video, like Pat. Thanks again, Pat. Love
Thanks,
you.
Pat.
Let's see. Watch us live on Twitch, twitch.tv/MVPvids. Watch our past live streams on youtube.com/MVPsports. That's it for today's show, guys. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, because I actually don't know what the schedule is, so I can't announce who's all going on. The voice in my head said that Ricky and Dave are on tomorrow.
Jake.
So, okay, close enough. Close enough. It's NFL draft stuff. All right.
Hope you feel better, Ricky. WPN.